Hi, in this jazz piano tutorial we're going to look at upper structures and how we can use them to get a nice jazzy sound when we're playing our jazz standards. The basic concept of upper structures is that we're covering our thirds and sevenths in the left hand and sometimes our root, as you saw in that intro there. And in our right hand we're doing some kind of triad, whether it be major or minor, to create a nice clashy jazzy sound. Okay, let me talk you through it through this beautiful jazz ballad called Solitude by Duke Ellington. So what I'm doing in this first one is I'm thinking of the 2 chord over the 1 chord. So B flat major over A flat major 7. Which gives us this nice sharp 11 sound there. And I'm making sure my melody's still on the top. And then when I get to the B flat 7, I'm thinking E major over B flat, and then I move down to C major over B flat. And then B flat minor is normal, minor 7 is normal. And here I'm kind of hinting at an F major on E flat 7. And then I change my voicings so I'm harmonizing this melody, B and then A. And just for a little bit of spice, I'm going to C major on A flat major. It gets this kind of tense sound that resolves nicely when you bring that note up. Don't worry if you didn't follow all of that. I'm going to break it down a little bit further soon. But just one thing to keep in mind with this technique. What I'm trying to do is get my thirds and sevens as close to the right hand triad as possible. So notice with this 3rd and 7 here, I've got it just underneath the voicing there. And then I have to re-invert it when I change there. What I also really like is I've been showing you with bass, but you can actually do this without the root, and it really plays with the listener's ears, and it sounds even jazzier because you've got no context for where it sits in. So I'll show you what I mean there. So that's kind of a nice thing to do, to try it without the root sometimes, or doing a bit of a mixture of root and without the root there. Let's look over a little bit more theory over what triads we can use over those left-hand chords. I'm just going to focus on the dominant 7 chord, because these ones have the most options for upper structures. And the reason is that it's really nice to get that sort of clashy sound, that tension and release. So that's why we have a few more options for upper structures on the dominant 7 chord. So because I don't want to just play them all one by one out of context, I'm just going to show you one by one in the 2-5-1. You'll see what I mean in a second. So I'll do a 2-5-1 in F major so you can see the C7 dominant. I'll show you what I mean. There's my C7. Alright, let's look at the upper structures. First of all, we can use a major 2 chord, which is D major over C7. And notice I'm trying to resolve it nice and smooth to my 1 chord. So I'm keeping this note here because that's the 3rd of the F. And with all of these examples, I'm going to try and resolve them as smoothly to the F as possible. Now we've got a flat 3. I'll show you that again. A flat 3, which is E flat. Notice that I moved my thirds and sevens up so it was closer to the voicing. Now we've got a flat 5. And again, flat 5, which is in this case F sharp major. Again, I want to move that 3rd and 7th a bit closer to get it a bit crunchier. Alright, now we've got a flat 6, which will be A flat. I'll show you that again. Flat 6. And then we've actually just got the normal 6, which will be A major over the C. And one more time with that one. So as you see in the chord diagrams that I've put up for you, you can see that they create all sorts of different chromatic extensions. I'm not really too fussed of you knowing, okay, that's my sharp 11 voicing, or that's my flat 5, flat 9 voicing and all that kind of stuff. Because really, they're all creating that same effect of tension and release. So if you want to delve into it more, that's going to be somewhat useful for you. But really, as long as you just realize they create tension to be resolved at the 1 chord. Now, a couple of minor voicings actually work too, and this one I use all the time. It's the flat 2 minor, which in this case is D flat. It's almost like that 2-5-1 that I've gone through exercise 3, I think, that I showed you. So that's the flat 2 there. You can also do a flat 3 minor, which will be E flat minor. And remember, we can change the inversions of these too. I might just show you a different one. Maybe that would have been a better resolution. I'll do that again. And one more of the minor ones that works, the flat 5, which is F sharp. I'll show you that one again. F sharp minor. Great. So they're the main ones we can use over dominant 7 chord. I'll show you one that I love to use over the 1 chord as well, and that is the major 2 over the 1 chord. I did that in Solitude. So in this case of the F major, I'm using a G major over the top. Lovely, lovely sound, and it really kind of almost is quite a deceptive cadence when we sort of do a 5 chord into it. Now with all of those shapes, remember we can change the inversions. Which comes in really handy when we want to reharmonize a melody, which I'll show you in a second. So how I would practice these is I would just target one of those shapes and just practice it through your 2-5-1. So if I just wanted to focus on the 2 over the 1, you don't have to do the walking bass line either. You can just do ballad style if you want. I actually prefer ballad style for these because I get used to get used to the sound of it without worrying about too much about the pace that it's going past. So there, what I was showing you there was when I got to my 7 chord, I did an A major over the G, which was our major 2. And I'll just keep cycling that through all my keys. So in D, now we've got B major over the A. Yeah, so that's how I practice them. Just get used to one sound at a time. And I will eventually get around to doing a set of 2-5-1 exercises where we just hone in on some of those upper structures. Now, the final thing I wanted to show you in this tutorial is how you can actually use these upper structures to reharmonize the melody. So I'll just show you in Autumn Leaves, which goes like this. So that's our melody. Okay, so what I want to do for this is I want to harmonize each one of those melody notes just for the sake of showing you how you can reharmonize it. So for starters, for our opening line, I'm going to think of it in G7 because it's going to the C minor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about, okay, all of those combinations that work over the G7, but I'm going to make sure whatever chord I choose, I've still got the melody note as the very top note. So in this case, I can go E flat, and A, and E flat again. And then resolve to my minor chord there. I'll show you that again. E flat, A, E flat. For my next set, I can use D flat. I might actually play these up the octave. I can play D flat, and then G, and then D natural, which resolves to the B flat. I'll show you that again. D flat major, G major, D major. And notice there that I started my 3rd and 7th down here. I couldn't really do it there because that was going to clash. And then when I kind of cleared that note, I actually re-inverted it just so it was a bit closer. It often sounds better when the 3rd and 7th's really nice and close to that chord. Now for this one, it's normally an E flat major 7. I'm going to just change it to a dominant 7 just to get a little bit more clash in there. So again, I can use B major, F major, and C major. And then A minor 7 flat 5. And finally on my D7, I can use B flat major, E major. Again, I'm going to move my 3rd and 7th up. And B major. Now, here's the thing. Don't stress if that was pretty overwhelming for you. I actually took some time to really work out those shapes and work out what was going to work. And I did write them down to keep me on track. So just letting you know, they don't just come out naturally straight away. But the more and more that you break it down and look at, okay, here are my melody notes. What upper structures could I use here? Can I use a C major? That doesn't work over the G. Can I use an E flat major? And now I've got an upper structure that will work. So really, I'm just using that top note as a guide, the harmony as a guide, and trying all my combinations of upper structures until I find a chord tone that works with the triad. And I would not try and just play these outright and just go for it. I would actually take some time, work it out, think of it as a composition exercise. And the more that you compose and reharmonize these standards from that composition standpoint, the more that these shapes will become more natural under your fingers, so that one day when you are just harmonizing it on the spot, they will just flow out naturally. But don't expect to just launch into that straight away. I find for me that taking my time and composing them is the best approach for this. So what's worked for me is picking out a random jazz standard that I know back to front and just seeing if I can use that melody note as my guide and the harmony as a guide and finding an upper structure that will harmonize that melody.